This video is about she sat inside the mountain trail and a millionaire sat beside her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sun dipped below the jagged peaks of the Pinecrest Mountains, casting long shadows over the winding trail. The air had a crisp bite to it, a stark contrast to the warmth of the day. Leela Ashford pulled her jacket tighter around herself, settling down on a smooth rock that jutted out from the earth like a natural throne. She took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. Leela had always found solace in the mountains. After her mother's passing, retreating here had become her sanctuary, a place where the weight of the world could lift, even if just for a moment. Yet, as the twilight settled, she felt an unexpected presence beside her, a shift in the atmosphere that felt both intrusive and oddly comforting. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" the deep voice murmured, breaking the stillness. Leela turned to find a tall figure with tousled dark hair and a rugged face, illuminated by the fading light. He wore a well-fitted jacket that accentuated his broad shoulders, the kind of man who looked effortlessly composed, even in the wilderness. She recognized him immediately. Ethan Carlyle, the millionaire philanthropist who had made headlines for his charitable work. "Sure is," Leela replied, trying to mask the flutter of surprise in her stomach. "I didn't expect anyone else to be up here." His piercing blue eyes caught hers, a hint of mischief dancing in their depths. "Thought I had the place to myself." "Thought wrong," she shot back with a teasing smile, her heart quickening slightly at their proximity. "What brings a millionaire to a lonely mountain trail on a Friday evening?" He chuckled softly, the sound rich and warm against the cool air. "Same reason as you, I suspect, a little escape from reality." Leela raised an eyebrow. "Reality must be pretty hectic for you." "Ah, you have no idea," Ethan replied, leaning back slightly, resting his arms on the rock ledge behind him. A constant whirlwind of meetings, events, and he paused, glancing at her with an intensity that made her breath hitch, the expectations. "Sounds exhausting," she said, her voice softer now. "How do you cope with it all?" Ethan turned his gaze toward the horizon, his expression contemplative. "I've learned to find peace where I can, and, honestly, I didn't expect to find it sitting next to a stranger on a mountain." Leela felt the warmth of his gaze linger, a skin tingling beneath the attention. There was something magnetic about him, something that made the air thick with unspoken possibilities. She broke eye contact, focusing instead on the dwindling light of the sunset. "So, what do you do when you're not escaping?" she asked, wanting to keep the conversation flowing to break the tension that had settled like a blanket over them. Ethan chuckled again, his voice low and rich. "I run a non-profit focused on education in underprivileged areas. It's fulfilling, but also incredibly frustrating at times." "Must take a lot of dedication," she said, genuinely impressed. "I can imagine the pressure you must face." "Sometimes it feels like the weight of the world is on my shoulders." He met her gaze again, his vulnerability evident. "But then I remember why I started. It keeps me grounded." Leela nodded, a flicker of admiration igniting in her chest. She shifted slightly, her knee brushing against his in a serendipitous moment that sent a jolt of electricity through her. "And what about you? What do you do when you're not on a mountain?" "I am a graphic designer," she said, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter. "I work for a small agency, but I've been dreaming of starting my own studio." "Wow," he replied, genuinely intrigued. "That sounds ambitious. What is stopping you?" "A million things," she sighed, her heart suddenly heavy. "Fear of failure, mostly. It is easy to dream big when you're alone in your head, but the real world is, well, it's daunting." Ethan nodded in understanding, his expression softening. "I get that, but sometimes you just have to take the leap. You might surprise yourself." "I guess it is easier said than done, though," Leela said quietly, lost in thought. "What if I fall?" "Then you get back up," he replied firmly, his voice laced with encouragement. "You learn from it and try again. Life isn't about avoiding the falls, it is about how you rise." His words resonated deeply within her, igniting a spark of determination she hadn't felt in a while. "You were quite the motivational speaker, Ethan Carlyle," she teased lightly, a smile creeping onto her lips. "I am just a guy trying to make sense of the chaos," he responded, his gaze steady. "We all have our battles, Leela." She swallowed hard, feeling exposed yet oddly safe in this moment. The mountains felt less lonely with Ethan by her side, but there was a whisper of doubt creeping in. Was she just another fleeting encounter in his life of glamour? Ethan shifted closer, the space between them shrinking. "Tell me, what is your biggest dream?" "I want to create a space where people can express themselves freely," she said, her voice steady but her heart racing. the place that feels welcoming and inspiring. Why haven't you started yet? He asked again, his intensity igniting the air around them. Because she hesitated, searching for the right words. Because I am terrified it won't be good enough, that nobody will care. Alila, he said softly, trust me, people will care if it comes from your heart. You have a vision that is worth sharing. The sincerity in his voice sent shivers down her spine as she could feel the magnetic pull between them. Yet a nagging thought lingered in her mind of the disparity between their lives. Ethan was a man of wealth and connections. She was just a woman trying to find her way. As if sensing her internal struggle, Ethan fell silent for a moment. He seemed to be contemplating something, his brows slightly furrowed. You re not just a woman in search of her path, Leela, you re talented and you re passionate. Don't you let fear hold you back. Easier said than done, she replied, the weight of his words clashing with her insecurities. I get it, I really do. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. But we re all just a little lost, aren't we? Maybe it is about finding someone to share that journey with. Her heart skipped a beat at the intimacy of his words. The air felt charged with unspoken tension, thick with the weight of possibilities. She could sense the chemistry crackling between them. But was it real, or merely a figment of the moment? Are you saying I need a partner in crime? She teased slightly, trying to deflect the sudden rush of emotions. Maybe, he replied, a playful glint in his eye. Or maybe just someone to hold your hand when the trail gets rocky. Lita felt a blush creep up her cheeks. Those words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of something deeper. Her mind raced with thoughts of what could be, but uncertainty gnawed at her. Was she ready to open herself up to someone like him? As the last slivers of sunlight slipped away, darkness enveloped the world around them, but the stars above twinkled like distant promises. Lila felt a warmth radiate from Ethan, a comfort she hadn't expected to find so quickly. Think you can handle a little adventure? She asked, breaking the silence as the first stars began to gleam overhead. Depends on the adventure, she replied, her heart racing with possibilities. Ethan smirked, a hint of mischief shining in his eyes. How about a hike to the summit next weekend? You'll all have to keep up with me, though. Are you sure you want to spend that much time with me? She asked, a playful challenge in her tone. I can think of worse ways to spend a weekend, he replied, the warmth in his voice curling around her like a gentle embrace. All right, she breathed, her heart pounding against her ribcage. I am in. As they sat side by side, the cool mountain breeze swirling around them, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever the future held, she knew one thing for certain. The mountains, once her solitary refuge, were about to become the backdrop for a new chapter in her life, and Ethan Carlyle would be a part of it. The following week came too quickly for Leela Ashford. Each day dragged as she replayed her encounter with Ethan Carlyle in her mind, his deep, encouraging voice, the way his eyes sparkled with warmth, and the electric brush of their knees. The sun hung low in the sky as she prepared for their hike, her heart a chaotic mixture of excitement and anxiety. She tossed her climbing gear into her small backpack, the fabric worn from countless hikes, and slipped into a fitted thermal top, the color a soft teal that she thought might bring out her eyes. As she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, a wave of doubt washed over her. What if he found her underwhelming? What if the sparkle in his eyes was just the allure of the unknown? She shook her head, trying to dispel the thoughts. Leela had come to the mountains for solace. She defined it again. An hour later, she arrived at the trailhead, her breath hitching at the sight of Ethan leaning against his sleek black SUV. He wore a fitted jacket that hugged his frame and dark jeans that accentuated his long legs. The way he carried himself, confident yet relaxed, made her heart race. Hey there, he greeted, a bright smile breaking across his handsome face. You made it. Couldn't he let you down? Leela replied, trying to mask her nerves with playful bravado. As she walked toward him, she felt the weight of his gaze, a warm, consuming presence that stirred something deep within her. Ready for an adventure? He asked, motioning toward the trail that snaked away into the vibrant green forest. Only if you can keep up, she shot back, a teasing lilt in her voice. He raised an eyebrow, an amused grin tugging at his lips. Challenge accepted. As they began to hike, the trail enveloped them in a cocoon of nature. The sound of crunching leaves beneath their boots filled the air, mingling with the distant calls of birds. Lila felt an exhilarating thrill, the kind that came from being alive and free. Yet beneath that joy lay an undercurrent of tension, a subtle dance of unspoken words that lingered between them. So, what do you do to prepare for a hike like this? Ethan asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Simple, bring snacks and hope for the best, Lila laughed, reaching into her bag for a granola bar. She offered him one, and he accepted, their hands grazing for a heartbeat before they pulled away. "Best strategy I've heard all week," he replied, his mouth curving into a smirk. Leela felt the flush of warmth creep up her neck, the chemistry between them becoming palpable. It was like a thread weaving them closer together with each shared moment. But just as quickly, a wave of insecurity rolled over her. Could she really fit into his world? The trail steepened, and Ethan's pace quickened. "Come on, Leela, you can't let me win this easily," he called back, his voice teasing yet filled with challenge. "Just wait," she huffed, pushing herself to keep up. "You were the one who suggested this hike." When they reached a flat clearing, Leela stopped to catch her breath, the view breathtaking. The mountains unfolded before them, vast and towering, painted in vibrant hues of green and gold. "Wow," she breathed, taking in the scenery. "This is incredible." "You just wait until we reach the summit," Ethan said, his eyes glinting with excitement. "That's a view you want to forget." As they settled on a fallen log, she felt the weight of his gaze once more. "You know, you're pretty impressive," he said, breaking the silence. "Impressive?" Leela scoffed, unsure of how to process the compliment. "Yeah," he continued, his tone sincere. "You handle this trail like a pro. You've got a passion for this." "I just like to escape," she admitted, her tone softening. "It's easier than facing everything back home." Ethan nodded, the intensity in his eyes deepening. "What are you escaping from?" "Life, I guess," she replied, the honesty in her heart surprising her. "The expectations, the pressure to succeed. Sometimes it feels suffocating." "I get it," he said slowly, his voice low, as if not wanting to disturb the tranquility around them. "But you are talented, Leela. You need to let that shine." Leela looked away, lost in thought. "It's easier to doubt myself than to try and fail." "Failure isn't to the end," he replied, his tone unwavering. "It's part of the journey." Just then, their moment was interrupted by the distant sound of laughter echoing through the trail. A group of hikers approached, their boisterous energy breaking the serenity. Leela's heart sank slightly at the interruption, feeling a wave of longing for the intimacy she felt with Ethan just moments ago. "Hey, you two enjoying the view?" one of the hikers called as they passed. Ethan waved, his demeanor instantly shifting to a friendly, charismatic vibe. "Just taking a break. You guys heading to the summit?" "Yep, good luck catching us," the hiker shouted back, eliciting laughter from the group. As they continued down the trail, Leela felt a pang of jealousy twist in her gut. Why did she care? Ethan was clearly a charismatic guy who drew people in effortlessly. She couldn't help but feel like she was just one of many in his life, and it stung more than she expected. "Hey," Ethan said, noticing her change in demeanor. "You alright?" "Yeah, just tired," she replied, forcing a smile. "You sure?" he probed gently, his concern palpable. "You seemed really into the hike before." "I am," she insisted, her voice a bit too sharp. She quickly softened, realizing she was overreacting. "I guess I decided on want to make the most of this." Ethan's gaze held hers, searching for something deeper. "You are, just being here is enough." Leela swallowed hard, feeling a rush of emotions she couldn't quite articulate. They resumed their hike, but the air felt heavy with unspoken words. Each step was measured, her heart racing, unsure of where the path would lead them. After some time, they reached a rocky ledge that opened up to a panoramic view of the valley below. The sun hung low, casting a golden hue over the landscape, painting the world in warmth. "Here we are," Ethan said, stepping beside her. Leela inhaled sharply, her breath hitching at the beauty. "It's breathtaking," she whispered, feeling a swell of gratitude for the moment. As they stood side by side, the world melted away. "Thank you for bringing me here," she said, glancing at him, her voice soft yet earnest. "It is my pleasure," he replied, his expression serious. "I wanted to share this with you." And just like that, the weight of their previous conversations hung in the air. The chemistry sparkled like the stars beginning to emerge in the twilight sky. For a moment, Leela felt as if they were the only two people in the world, bound by a connection that transcended their differences. "Ethan," she started, her heart racing, "can I be honest?" "Always," he replied, turning to face her fully, the sincerity in his gaze making her heart flutter. I am scared," she admitted, vulnerability pouring from her lips. "Scared that I am too ordinary for someone like you." Before she could finish, Ethan stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating toward her. "Leela, you're anything but ordinary. You're unique, and that's what makes you special." His words wrapped around her like a soft embrace, and Leela felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "But I don't know if I can be what you need." You don't have to be anything but yourself, Ethan replied, his voice low and soothing. I want to get to know you, flaws and all. Leela's heart swelled with the weight of his sincerity, yet a part of her grappled with the reality of their lives. I just don't want to be another fleeting moment for you, she confessed, her voice trembling. Leela, he murmured, reaching out to gently cup her face with his hand. You are not just a moment to me, I feel something real here. Leela's breath caught in her throat as their eyes locked, the world around them fading into a blur. The tension that had been building between them crackled like electricity, and she felt herself leaning closer, drawn in by the magnetic pull of his presence. But just as Leela was about to close the distance, a sudden rustling from the bushes nearby startled them both. Hey, sorry to interrupt, the voice called, breaking the spell. Mind if we take a photo? Ethan stepped back, a bemused expression crossing his face, while Leela felt her heart plummet the moment chatted. Yeah, sure, Ethan replied, maintaining his charm as Leela stared at the ground, the sudden intrusion feeling like a splash of cold water. The moment she had almost shared with Ethan slid through her fingers, leaving behind a bittersweet ache that settled in the pit of her stomach. She forced a smile for the hikers, who were oblivious to the emotional upheaval their arrival had caused. Of course, go ahead, Ethan said, gesturing for them to step forward. He remained composed, his easy charm slipping back into place like a well-worn jacket. Leela admired how he could so effortlessly mask the tension that had just filled the air. The group, a mix of young couples and friends, gathered round the ledge, their laughter ringing out like a cheerful melody that felt foreign to Leela's ears. She stood slightly apart, her heart still racing from the near chaos, grappling with the confusion swirling in her mind. Say cheese, one of the hikers called out, and Ethan flashed a grin, his smile bright and genuine. Leela hesitated, caught in the contrast between the joy of the moment and the gravity of her own thoughts. As the camera clicked, she felt an overwhelming urge to retreat into her own thoughts to escape the noise of the moment. She turned slightly, pretending to admire the view again, but her gaze kept darting back to Ethan. He was effortlessly charming with the group, chatting and laughing, and Leela couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. Was this the kind of life he was used to? One where laughter came easily, where the world seemed bright and inviting. Thanks, guys, Ethan said when they finished, giving them a wave as they moved on. Nice people, Leela said, her voice tinged with a forced lightness. She turned to him, noticing the way his eyes sparkled even in the fading sunlight. You seem to have a way with strangers. Ethan met her gaze, his expression shifting. They were just people out here enjoying nature, same as us. Right, but I mean, you really connect with them, Leela pressed, feeling a sudden need to probe deeper into the man before her. It is like you can talk to anyone and make them feel special. He chuckled softly, a hint of self-deprecation in his tone. I try. Life is too short to be anything but kind. Kindness doesn't always come easy, though, she said, her thoughts betraying her insecurities. Especially when you are wrapped up in your own world. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he sensed the heaviness behind her words. What is really going on, Leela? You seem distant. I am fine, she snapped, surprised at her own defensiveness. Just lost in thought. His brow furrowed, and Leela saw the concern etched on his face. You know, it is okay to not be okay sometimes. She sighed, rubbing the back of her neck in frustration. I just don't want to be a burden. I am not used to sharing my feelings. You are not a burden, he said firmly, stepping closer again. I want to understand you. I want to be here. His words warmed her heart, but a familiar doubt crept in. I am not sure how to navigate all this, she gestured between them, the distance closing yet feeling impossibly vast. Ethan reached out, his hand hovering just above hers, a gentle way of bridging that gap. Maybe we just take it one step at a time. Easier said than done, Leela murmured, feeling the weight of her vulnerability. True, he acknowledged, his voice softening. But it is worth the effort. I mean, look at where we are. Leela smiled at the breathtaking panorama before them, the golden light casting a warm glow over the valley. It is beautiful, she conceded, trying to shake off the heaviness in her chest. As they stood side by side, the moment felt charged, and she could sense the magnetic pull between them intensifying. She couldn't shake the feeling, though, that in a week, in a month, he could forget her, and she would be left with nothing but memories of this magical evening. What if I told you I am not as interesting as you think, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan turned to her, his eyes searching hers. And what if I told you that that's not what draws me to you? What do you mean? You are real, Leela, he said, his voice steady. You are passionate about who you are and what you want, even if you are scared. I respect that. Her heart raced, caught between the thrill of his admiration and the fear that it would all come crashing down. But I am just a graphic designer. I don't have the kind of life you were used to. Life isn't about titles, he countered softly. It is about connections, about people. But I don't know how to be part of your world, she confessed, the vulnerability spilling out of her as if she had finally broken free from a cage. I don't know if I belong. Before Ethan could respond, another group of hikers appeared on the trail, their boisterous energy once again intruding on the intimacy they had created. Layla felt a rush of frustration but masked it with a cheerful smile. "Hey, you two are looking cozy," one of the hikers called out, a playful glint in her eye. "You're just enjoying the view," Ethan responded, his tone light, but Layla could see a flicker of irritation in his expression too. As the group continued past, Layla felt her heart sink again. Each interruption felt like a missed opportunity, like the universe conspired to keep them apart. "Let us keep moving," Ethan suggested, trying to dismiss the moment. "We still have more to see." With a nod, Leo fell in to step beside him, the path winding beneath their feet. The early tension lingered in the air, thick and unyielding. A few minutes later, they reached another viewpoint, this one even more spectacular than the last. The sun had dipped lower, casting a vibrant palette of oranges and purples across the sky, a stunning backdrop for what felt like the culmination of their journey together. "Wow," Leela breathed, taking a moment to absorb the beauty before her. "It is incredible, isn't it?" Ethan said, standing close but not too close, as if sensing her need for space. "Like a painting," she replied, her eyes sparkling with awe. "You're just like you," he said, glancing sideways at her, his voice light yet meaningful. Layla felt the warmth of the compliment wash over her, but uncertainty crept back. "You don't have to say nice things to make me feel better." "I mean it," he insisted, his voice firm. "You are a part of this moment, you bring something special." But Layla's heart clenched. What if you were just caught up in the romance of the scenery? I don't want to be just a fleeting thought. Ethan turned to her, taking a step closer, the intensity in his gaze anchoring her. "You are not a fleeting thought, you are an experience, Layla, a beautiful one." Her breath hitched in her throat again, her heart racing at the weight of his words. "I am just scared, Ethan," she admitted, the vulnerability pouring out in a soft whisper, the truth escaping her lips like a secret. "Scared of what?" he asked, his voice gentle, coaxing her to open up more. "Scared of being hurt," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Scared of losing what we have before it even really starts." Ethan reached out, his fingers brushing against her arm, sending a shiver down her spine. "You don't have to be afraid. I am not going anywhere." A promise lingered in the air between them, heavy with potential. Layla felt the warmth of his presence, the undeniable chemistry crackling like electricity. "Then why do I feel so unsure?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Because it is a leap of faith," he replied softly, his thumb stroking the fabric of her sleeve gently. "But sometimes the best things come from that leap." In that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Layla felt something shift within her. Fear that had gripped her heart began to loosen its hold, replaced by a flicker of hope. "What if I want to take that leap?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her gaze locked onto his. "Then let's take it together," he replied, his eyes filled with warmth and sincerity. Their faces hovered close, a heartbeat away from something electrifying. Layla could feel the pounding of her heart, the way the world around them faded into a soft blur. There she crossed that final distance. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Layla felt the cool kiss of twilight wrap around her like a soft blanket. The world transformed, shifting into shades of blue and purple, the stars starting to twinkle like diamonds scattered across velvet. It was breathtaking, but all she could focus on was Ethan. He stood so close, their breaths mingling in the crisp mountain air, and the weight of unspoken words hung between them, a tantalizing dance of possibility. Layla's heart raced, and for a fleeting moment she felt suspended in time, teetering on the edge of something monumental. "Layla," Ethan murmured, his voice low and rich like the earth itself, "look at me." She did, her gaze locking onto his piercing blue eyes, which shimmered with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "What if I fall?" she whispered, her heart pounding as she searched for reassurance in the depths of his gaze. "Then I'll be there to catch you," he replied, his words a promise, a tether to something real and grounding. "You don't have to be afraid with me." But doubt swept through her like a cold wind. "But what if you were a moment, Ethan? Just another fleeting connection in your glamorous world?" His brow furrowed slightly, and for a moment he looked genuinely pained. "That's not how I see you," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "You are not just a moment, you are an experience, something profound." The weight of his words pressed against her heart, and she felt the wall she'd built around her emotions begin to crumble. "I just don't want to be another pretty face in your life," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I want to be more than that, but I can't shake the feeling that I don't belong." Ethan tilted his head, his expression softening. "Leela, you belong wherever you choose to be. That's not about titles or wealth, it's about who we are inside, and I see you, the real you." She felt a rush of warmth flood her cheeks, the sincerity in his words igniting a flicker of hope. Yet the fear still lingered, a gnawing doubt that whispered that their worlds were too different. "What if I am not enough for you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't you get it?" he said, stepping even closer until the space between them felt electric. "You are more than enough. It's your passion, your dreams, your heart. Those are the things that matter." His words wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, but the shadows of her insecurities still danced at the edges of her mind. "I don't want to disappoint you," she confessed, feeling the vulnerability wash over her like a cool wave. "I am terrified of failing." Ethan's eyes locked onto hers, the intensity of his gaze grounding her. "We all fail, Leela. It's part of being human, but you can't let that fear stop you from pursuing your dreams. Life is too short." She nodded slowly, her heart racing. The connection between them felt potent, yet terrifying. "It's just you have this incredible life, and I am just me." "It's just you," he repeated softly, raising a teasing eyebrow. "That is the best part. You're unique. You have a light that draws people in, including me." Leela felt her breath hitch, uncertainty mingling with something beautiful, something she dared to hope for. "What if we take that leap together?" she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of the invitation. "What if we tried to figure this out?" "I do like that," he said, his smile warm and genuine. "But we need to keep communicating. No misunderstandings, no doubts." She nodded, feeling a surge of determination course through her. "Okay, I'll try." Before she could think too much about it, Leela took a small step forward, closing the distance between them. The air around them crackled with energy, the world fading into the background as their eyes locked in a moment suspended in time. But just as she felt ready to lean in, another rustle in the bushes broke through the intimacy. A couple of hikers appeared, their laughter echoing through the stillness, their enthusiastic energy jarring against the fragile bubble of connection Leela and Ethan had created. "Oh hey, sorry to interrupt," the woman called out, her voice bright and cheery. "Mind if we snag a photo?" Leela felt her heart sink at the interruption, the moment slipping away like sand through her fingers. Ethan stepped back, the easy charm returning to his face as he waved at the newcomers. "Of course, we were just enjoying the view." As the hikers crowded around for a picture, Leela forced a smile, all too aware of the way the moment had evaporated. The laughter and chatter of the group felt like a stark contrast to the vulnerability they had just shared. "Thanks, guys," one of the hikers said after taking their photo, oblivious to the charged atmosphere that had been disrupted. They moved on, leaving Leela standing there, feeling exposed and frustrated. "Leela?" Ethan's gentle voice broke through her thoughts. "You alright?" "Yeah," she replied, her voice strained as she turned away, swallowing hard. "Just a little disappointed." "Disappointed?" He stepped closer, concern etched on his features. "What is going on?" She sighed, feeling the weight of her emotions swell inside her. "I don't know, I just thought maybe." She hesitated, unsure how to articulate the whirlwind of feelings. "Maybe we were finally getting somewhere." Ethan's expression softened, the warmth of his gaze enveloping her. "We are getting somewhere. Just because the moment changed doesn't mean what we shared is gone." "But it feels like it," she said, frustration creeping into her tone. "Every time we start to connect, something or someone comes between us." He nodded, understanding, lining his features. "It's frustrating, I get that, but we can still make the most of this. Let us keep talking, keep sharing, even if it's not in the way we expect." Leela looked up at him, the sincerity in his eyes piercing through her doubts. "You make it sound so easy," she said, a hint of skepticism creeping into her voice. "But it is hard for me." "I know," Ethan replied, his tone gentle. "But that is what makes it real. We have to navigate the challenges together, even if it is messy." A small smile tugged at her lips, but deep down, uncertainty still gnawed at her. "And what if it doesn't work out?" "Then we'll figure it out," he said, his voice unwavering. "But I don't want to let fear hold us back. I want to see where this goes." "Okay," she breathed, the sincerity of his words washing over her. "I want to try." As they continued along the trail, the tension began to ease, replaced with a newfound understanding. They talked, sharing stories of their lives, their dreams, and their fears, laughter mingling with the sound of the wind through the trees. Leela felt lighter, the weight of her insecurities slowly lifting as Ethan opened up about his own struggles. "You'd be surprised how much pressure comes with being successful," he admitted. "Sometimes it feels like I am expected to be perfect." "Really?" she asked, genuinely intrigued. "You always seem so put together." "There's a facade," he confessed, his tone earnest. "I worry about letting people down, about not meeting expectations too." The vulnerability in his words resonated deeply within her, and for the first time, Leela felt like they were standing on equal ground. "Maybe we were not so different after all," she said, her heart warming. "Maybe not," he replied, a smile tugging at his lips. "We both have our battles to fight." Just then, they reached another clearing, the view opening up to a sprawling landscape bathed in the golden hues of dusk. Leela inhaled sharply, absorbing the beauty around her. "It feels like a painting," she whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude for this moment. Ethan stood beside her, his presence solid and comforting. "It's just like you," he said softly, his gaze piercing through her defenses. Leela felt her cheeks flush, warmth spreading through her at the compliment. "I am just me," she replied, but she could feel the joy blossoming within her. "Exactly," he insisted, turning to face her fully. "And you are beautiful inside and out." Her breath caught in her throat, and she felt an intoxicating mix of vulnerability and longing. "Ethan, I..." But before she could finish, he stepped closer, the space between them evaporating. "Let us take that leap together." Leela's heart raced at the suggestion. "Together?" she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Together," he confirmed, his eyes locked onto hers with unwavering sincerity. In that moment, everything felt possible. The fear that had gripped her began to ease, replaced by a flicker of hope, the kind that ignited when two souls dared to connect despite the chaos of the world around them. "Okay," she replied, her heart swelling with anticipation. "Let us do it." As they stood on the edge of the world, the mountains towering around them, Leela felt the